It's okay. It's fine. I'm going terrorism to sad, judicial independence, and then case.
Okay.
All right. So their first argument about the terrorism desads. However, they never argued our military 2001 cards were saying that the terrorism actually get their weapons, actually get their nukes for these impacts from these countries that are developing nuclear weapons because of American hegemony. So therefore, according to our military 2001 card, they can't. Their impacts can't happen because these people won't have their nukes in the world of the affirmative. The affirmative prohibits terrorists from accessing any kind of nuclear weapons for any kind of impact that they claim to actually be able to happen. Next, going on to judicial independence. Okay, so then they said that overruling a precedent is always controversial and it decreases judicial legitimacy. However, I'd like to extend my Cherminsky 99 card saying that you can't destroy judicial legitimacy. I mean, for the past 200 years, precedents have been overruled again and again and again. And however, the impacts that they claim have never happened. So, like, when are we expecting these impacts to happen? They're just not gonna happen. Also, they said that we increase presidential power. However, we don't say we increase presidential power. We just leave the presidential power as it is under the MCA. We're upholding the MCA, which talks about the presidential power, so we're not actually doing anything about the presidential power. We're not increasing it or decreasing it. They said that we must allow. Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, and then they said we must allow. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. I was under the wrong flow. Okay. Going on. They said. Also that they're also so pretty much all their nuclear war impacts that are caused by all these this judicial independence they can't happen. First of all, because of the fact that I'd like to cross-apply what my arguments from the terrorism decide about why they can't. Also they said they have to promote democracy throughout the world. However, and then the reason for that was that we have to prevent regimes from coming into our own country. That we must uphold. However, they're not looking at the flip side of it. That we're actually regimes going into other countries. That we're actually the bad guys in this case in the world of the negative. Because of American hegemony. Also, they said that we never addressed the human rights. However, we did turn the human rights argument, saying that U.S. hegemony actually does destroy human rights because the United States is imperialist and tyrannical. Going on. They say that nuclear war. Hold on. They say that nuclear war it causes extinction, but they ask nuclear wars do not. That their claim is simply ridiculous. It is common sense that their claims apply to our nuclear war impacts as well. There's no reason why ours can't be extinction as well. Also, they support imperialism and democracy at the same time. It's a contradiction. They can't neglect the affirmative and actually support this idea of imperialism, and then yet say they're going out under the name of democracy. Go on. Okay. Going on to case. All right, we never explicitly said 1 year. She just assumed that from the cross-ex. So you can't really take that into strong consideration. Also, they just listed a number of cards that they said they were extending. However, you shouldn't really take that into strong consideration because they didn't apply each card to the arguments they were talking about. Also, yes, we did decrease U.S. hegemony. That's why we're decreasing the collapse of the U.S. economy. Also, their arguments talking about how economy is key and like how U.S. economy is key to global success. Their arguments are not under the impression that on the assumption that the EU would be in power. The EU, we read our 9 2003 and our CupCon 2003 cards talking about how the EU they have enough soft power and hard power to take over as the hegemonic power in hegemonic global power in order to prevent any kind of global collapse from occurring. Also, we did extend our Duty 991 card saying that the economic collapse does not cause war. Once again, they claim all these wars will happen because of the economic collapse. However, it doesn't. And also, yes, we did say our cards did say that in the long run, the changing to the EU would be better. So therefore, we saw for both the short term and the long run. And the long run is more important because that's the one that's going to stick around. Also, they said that hegemony is key to global economy. But however, hegemony leads to massive deaths because of these mini nukes. So if you vote for if you end up voting for the negative, you're actually supporting these mini nukes and these their own nuclear war impacts because they become possible. And also they said that we have no time frame. However, that doesn't make sense because we have mini nukes right now. Why would we need to provide a time frame for something that's already happening? That just doesn't make sense. And so their arguments against our mini nukes go away. Also, they practically dropped our arguments about the space wars against China. We're talking about how that the U.S. right now is funding for research that's developing space war instruments, and also that it will lead unless you do vote for the affirmative, that it will lead to space wars, and that these wars will be just between satellites, and these will actually destroy the economic infrastructure globally. They never explicitly talk about infrastructure. Most of their economic arguments are talking about referring to like business confidence or like other physical tangible attributes of the economy. However, we're talking about infrastructure. You can't rebuild infrastructure. You can rebuild business confidence and other aspects of the economy. However, you cannot rebuild infrastructure. So therefore. Okay, so they don't.
Impact.
Yeah. So finally, so not only do they allow for global proliferation, they actually encourage it to happen, thus enabling any kind of nuclear wars to happen. They also cause for global nuclear conflict. Not only that, but in the world of the negative, the entire global economy is destroyed because its infrastructure is decimated through the space wars between U.S. and China.